Okay, I think we're live here, hopefully. It says we are. I am digital artist Aaron Rutten, and I am joined here today by my friend and fellow artist Torren Thomas.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And we are going to be answering some digital art questions and showing off and drawing some Halloween themed art. Feel free to comment in and let us know if you can see us and hear us. So you know how these live streams go. You always think they're going to work right at first, and then something goes wrong. And looks like it's working. So let's just hope that it is. um, so Torren, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I am from Midwest, Kansas specifically. I am a professional artist. I do caricature art. I do portrait art, and I also work for a wonderful company in Atlanta called Gimme Games, and I do casino-based stuff there. So I kind of
Awesome.
do a little bit of everything.
Cool. Looks like people can see us and hear us. All right, so we're not just talking to no one. It's always good to know.
Yeah.
So Torren's links are down there right beneath him. Torren278 is his handle, and you can see a few examples of some of the portraits that he's done. Some really wonderful, very photorealistic looking stuff.
Follow.
So how about we start out with you showing off a few of those Halloween pieces that you pulled up,
Okay, that's cool.
and then I'll switch my screen over here to the project that I'll be working on.
All right. Move one thing real fast. Okay.
Comics led Comics Legend is here, Alex Draws is here, Oscar Rodriguez is here. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yo, what's up, everybody? All right. You want me to just go ahead and share it?
Sure.
All right. Just gonna start with just a few things. I guess it's October. I'm a big horror movie fan. I love Halloween, so we kind of decided to theme this whole hangout session right quick. And I'm just starting off with this is just an old self portrait I did a couple of years ago. I don't know if you can see everything, Aaron.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, yeah, it's just a character I did of myself.
I like
Just
I like I like the green light coming from the background there. That looks nice.
yeah, disturbed a few family members with that one, but that was the point.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's how you know you did a good job. You know.
yeah, like I actually had a cousin like she hit me on Facebook and like asked me to take it down
Oh,
because it was disturbing her.
giving her giving her nightmares.
Yeah, I of course didn't take it down, but
Yeah.
she asked. I laughed. It was all good. Let's see what else we got. It's another zombie piece I did a couple years ago.
That's
Uh,
Cypress Hill.
it's actually this rap group called Flatbush Zombies.
Ah,
These New York guys.
nice.
So you know, they make some good music.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Looks like old Freddy Krueger there.
Yeah, that was another one. Yeah, I'm a huge Freddy Krueger fan, like huge. So had to do that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks good. That's a lot of detail in the face. It's like most faces probably take a quarter of that much time, but he's got all those tears and rips and scars and stuff.
That this probably took me, I want to probably say about 5 straight days to paint.
Yeah.
I really got in there. Like you can see all the little bitty
Oh
individual
yeah.
brush strokes and
What do you
all
do? What do you do when you're doing that? Do you kind of go all like here and there and everywhere all around the face, or do you just pick like one little area? Like today, I'm going to do just the left eye.
I start in one area. Like you're technically not supposed to do that. Where like you focus in on one thing, you're supposed to work on the painting as a whole.
Yeah.
But when it comes to stuff like this, I always get lost in it. So I'll start with an eye because to me eyes are super super important because they carry everybody's soul, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So normally you get the eyes right, the rest of it is pretty easy to nail down. So I'll
Yeah.
start with the eye and then like, all right, like I got to get this little section right here of all these little wrinkles right, and I'll spend like an hour just in like this little cheek muscle or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then it'll just link into this, and so it starts like you just build it out of an eyeball instead of like you're technically supposed to, get this part decent, get it all looking, half passable, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
But I ain't do it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Really comes down to whatever works for you. Like there's always, especially when you're looking for art advice or techniques, or you go to school for art. Someone's always going to try to push their own personal workflow on you, and sometimes it's a great workflow and it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think rules are meant to be broken or bent.
And I will say, as far as for that workflow, that it works really well for deadlines because you're going to be in a situation like especially if you're going to be like an editorial illustrator or something like that, you're going to get into a situation where like, say you got a deadline that's like 2 or 3 days. It's better to get all of this. Say we're doing this illustration. It would better to get this whole thing 80% done and have it all looking 80% as opposed to like just this one area that were really super duper refined and the
Yeah.
rest of it look kind of trash.
Mm-hmm.
So it does, that workflow does make sense, but I did this on my own time, so I just kind of got lost in the face for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But there it's merits to both.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just move on to some other stuff.
Okay.
This is, I kind of have to explain what this is. First off, I got to shout out my friend DP. He has a Twitch stream, Sour Kool-Aid Show, and he wrote these stories when he was probably like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old about this character he made up called Iron Face,
Mm-hmm.
and he's basically just this unstoppable killing machine. And his mom saved all these stories, and
Oh
so
yeah.
now, yeah, he wrote them when he's a little kid, and now he reads them on his Twitch stream every now and again. And because they were written by a child in like the late '80s, early '90s, they're hilarious. Like there's misspelled words, and like nothing really makes sense. But basically, this huge hulking guy with a piece of iron nailed to his face just kills any and everything in his path.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm listening to these stories and they're hilarious, and I'm like, I should draw this stuff. So I started doing posters for his stories, and I've done 3 of them, and this is the first one I did. So anybody out there that's interested in Iron Face, just look up Iron Face on YouTube. Go to Sour Kool-Aid Shows Twitch stream. DP's hilarious. He's a good dude. And if you hear one of these stories, I guarantee you will laugh. Like, there's no way you're not gonna laugh because they're ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dudes doing backflips and ripping jets out of the air and tearing off people's arms and stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
but it's fun. And so I did that was the first one. I did another one, and this was the last one that I did. One of the last ones.
Cool.
And
It's a Genesis cartridge.
yeah, like it had this '90s vibe. So I was like, I'm gonna put that on a Sega box. That was just an idea I had, but it was fun to do it just because it was a personal thing. I had fun. He
That's
had a million gun strapped to his back for some reason.
yeah. It's like kind of like Casey Jones.
Yeah, but just like a homicidal maniac. Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Got to shout out my friend Sean for posing for this one right here.
Oh yeah.
He helps out. Let's see. I'll move on. I did the cover for a Scream magazine. They had this thing called the Beast of Scream about a year or two ago, and it
Mm-hmm.
was really just kind of like their best of issue. So I had to do a double cover. So I did this one for. They wanted to do like a newer aged thing on one half, and then an older thing, an older age horror thing on the other side. So they went with the Evil Dead 2 cover for I guess the more modern take, even though that movie's like 30 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, they did this one, which is like the Lon Chaney Wolfman from like I want to say like the 30s or
Yeah.
40s. So I ended up doing those, and let's see what else. Check out Scream magazine, by the way. So I'll move on to Pennywise.
Yeah, I like that one.
I did this one recently just for fun. This was another one that creeped out a lot of my friends, and people called me and asked me to take it on Facebook,
Yeah.
which I laughed because, because it's just a painting.
Yeah.
But
I like that kind of bluish green cyan. It complements the orange from the hair really well.
yeah, I actually saw. I was watching the trailer, and there's this point where he like pops out of this box, and he's in all this blue light, and it's got this really like strong orange backlighting. And it's like that looks really cool. But the picture that I found of it, it was really grainy and washed out. So I was like, I'm just gonna do my own thing with this other, decent reference, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of ate it up from there. And this is how it turned out. So it, thank God, worked out. Let's see what else we got. This is another personal one. Big Hellraiser fan. So
Nice. Yeah, it looks really good.
thank you. Uh, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about this one. It's Pinhead, man. Like,
Yeah.
can't go wrong with Pinhead.
The color scheme is really nice because he's kind of more of like a monochromatic character when you see him in, in photos and stuff. And that blue and the red and purple really makes him pop out.
Yeah, like the photo that I was looking at, it's like the cover of I believe it's Hellraiser 1 or 2, and you're right, it's all just like monochromatic blue and like really deep blacks and stuff. And it just kind of looked boring a little bit, so I just kind of added in some reds and stuff just to like you said, make it pop out a little bit more. Just kind of try to
Mm-hmm.
do something interesting with it.
That
Oh,
your
go ahead.
work is your work is a good example of how to take something, use like still make it look recognizable like a photo, but at the same time make it look like art. And like there's a lot of people who can do one or the other, but not a lot of people who can do both.
That's kind of something I'm not gonna say I consciously go for it, but I keep it in mind because it kind of defeats the purpose. Like even though I paint portraits, and I got this from my friend, I'm gonna name drop here, Jason Seiler. But it's like if it's gonna look just like a photo, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like you can just take a picture. So even though like, and I do photorealistic portraits, where I don't exaggerate everything like I'm doing here, but you should always kind of try to have a little bit of your hand visible in there, so like it actually looks like a painting. Because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, like well, you can just take a picture,
Yeah.
and what's the point of that?
Yeah, art is kind of your expression and your interpretation viewed through your lens, and if people are seeing everything through the same lens, there's no point. I mean, you could take 10 different artists, put them next to each other, have them all do a painting, and if they all make it look just like the photo, then there's really nothing to separate those artists from each other
Yeah,
stylistically.
yeah. So you kind of got to have a little bit of your own, I don't know, your essence or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then lastly is something I started working on and I haven't had time to finish yet, but hopefully I'll get it done before Halloween. And that is my Michael Myers Halloween tribute.
Is that going to stay monochromatic or is that going to be colorized?
I think I'm gonna add in some blues just to break that up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I just kind of got it's in like the real early stages, so I
Yeah.
kind of got everything blocked in, and then when I get done, I'll go through and I'll just kind of add in some little highlights, and like I said, it'll probably be some blues and stuff in there, maybe some greens, I don't know, but I'll try to make it pop a little bit whenever I'm finally done with it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get like the composition right, do the caricatures. Like it's surprisingly difficult to caricature that face because it's a mask, and it's like you don't really think about how much is actually involved in a
Mm-hmm.
face until it's not there.
Yeah. I like it.
So just kind of trying to do whatever I can with it.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll get around to getting it done. I don't know. I've been super, super busy lately.
Yeah. How much time do you typically spend on a piece? Like just a ballpark?
It's hard to say because it depends on what it's for. Like if it's for me, I always spend as much time as I need to.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then it also depends on how many different characters and stuff are in the piece.
Yeah.
So this one has this has got different four different people, and this is obviously going to take me longer than like the Hellraiser thing because
Mm-hmm.
it's one dude. But depending on how crazy it gets, like that Freddy Krueger, I could probably spend like 60, 70 hours painting on something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a hard thing to calculate unless you actually set a stopwatch for each painting session.
yeah,
Um, I can usually get a pretty good idea of how long I spent on something if I recorded it, because then I can just look at the video and go, okay, it took me 3 hours or 10 hours or whatever. Um, but it's a hard question to answer. People ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know, because sometimes you think about it in days, but then it's like, well, how long do you work on it each day? And
yeah. I always think about it in days, but then again, like some of those days are like 13, 14 hours.
yeah. Um, well, great. Those are all really awesome Halloween themed paintings.
Yeah.
Gives people a good idea of what you can do there. Um, we're going to be answering questions from you in the audience, and Joe's got a great one for you. Joe
Yeah.
wants Joe wants to know: did you go to art school or are you self-taught?
I went to the University of Kansas. I was in their visual communications program. So I did go to college for school, like technically art school, but honestly, I probably learned more outside of it than I did when I was actually in school. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always tell people who ask me that question that college, like you should go to art school if you're really willing to take it serious, because that was kind of my problem, was that I didn't take it as serious as I probably should, and when I was in it, and then when I was out of it, I realized this is really what I wanted to do, and so I took it super serious.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's kind of what happened to me too. I took, I had a choice between taking commercial art or graphic design, and for some reason I wanted to do commercial art. I didn't want to do art on a computer,
yeah,
and I didn't take it seriously either, and I ended up dropping out of college, and then had to teach myself pretty much everything I know now. I mean, I always had art classes in grade school and high school and stuff like that, but as far as like sitting down and learning about lighting and form and painting photorealistically in portraits and all that stuff, that's just all stuff from the school of hard knocks.
yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I said, I didn't really take college super duper serious. Like I was kind of riding off my quote unquote talent, which looking back, there wasn't a lot of it, but at the time, like I thought I was pretty decent. I didn't really just have the right mindset about what it really took to be an artist and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and you know, like how much sacrifice you have to take. Like I was looking at it like a regular job. Like, oh yeah, you get done with school and you graduate, and then you get a job, and then you're fine. And that is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not how this goes.
Yeah.
You have to scrape and scratch, and you really have to dedicate yourself to, really working on your craft. That's how you get even a little bit noticed,
Mm-hmm.
even a tiny bit. So
Yeah. Back in art school, I thought I was awesome, and then my instructor she'd get my stuff and she'd look at it and she'd be like, you could have done better. Here's where you should have filled in more or whatever. And it man, it always used to like really irritate me that she didn't think I was as good as I thought I was. But looking back at those pieces, she's completely right. Like I just kind of assumed I've always been considered, like a pretty decent artist among my peers, but then when you start to get into like doing it professionally, you really have to step it up, and obviously I wasn't at that point.
yeah,
Was not taking it seriously. But I mean, you really do. You have to want to make art all the time. And there's a lot of people who think that they want to make art all the time, but if they got into it and had to paint every single day, like you have to, they might get sick of it.
yeah, man, it's different. Like, and once you really, I'm not gonna say make it, but once art becomes your job, it switches because like when you start getting clients and when you start, like having to think about somebody else's vision that's not just yours, the whole thing switches.
Yeah, and there's a lot that comes along with putting yourself out there and the kind of response that you get too. Like when you're just kind of making art for yourself, you're not doing it professionally and you're not putting it online. Nobody knows about you, but as soon as you start putting it up, you get a lot of compliments, but you'll also get a lot of negativity from it, and that's something that I wasn't necessarily prepared for getting into it.
Yeah, that's something you gotta have. You do actually have to have thick skin if you're gonna be an artist.
I try, but stuff gets to me now and then.
I got lucky and I got destroyed early in college, where I was a guest professor from Ringling School of Art, which is like a big deal. And he was a friend of my professors, and he came to hang out. And they're like, okay, we're gonna do a critique. Everybody, hang your stuff up so we can talk about it. And so I hung this painting up, and he like took it off the wall and like threw it in the trash.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough, dude. Like I was like, wow. And once you can handle that, and like I didn't freak out on the guy, and like I didn't get all depressed, and I didn't quit. It was like, all right, that happened. Like if you can live through that in front of people, like these are like my friends, like they all think, oh, you're talented, you're good, we're all gonna be great artists, and then have something like you're trash, and just like rip it off the wall, and just it was nuts. But I wish I could meet him again. His name's Joe something. I can't remember his last name, and kind of just thank him because he
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped me. Just have that thick skin because not everybody is gonna like what you do.
Yeah.
So like you're never as good as people say you are, and you're never as bad. So it's just like just kind of stay in the middle.
Yeah. Maybe he saw something in you that he really liked, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this guy the extra little bit of advice, and be like, don't get too cocky about yourself.
Honestly, I think it was just a really bad painting. Looking back on it, like I have it's somewhere in like my mom's garage, and
Yeah.
I saw it not too long ago, and it was like, wow, he was right. Like
Yeah.
that was not good.
It would have been hard not to bust out laughing if that happened to me, but that's probably not how I would have reacted. I probably would have been like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't know. I got a weird like sense of humor, and I'm pretty laid back all the time, so most things don't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Like I kind of just laughed because it was so shocking. I didn't really know what else to do. Like it's
Yeah.
either laugh or like, am I gonna attack this guy? Like I can't do that. There's nothing else to do but laugh.
Yeah. Let's see if we got another question here. Oh, Joe is following up. Joe says he asks because he's 37 with 3 kids, college not much of an option at this point. I can't even draw stick figures, but watch tons of tutorials lately and trying to learn. What?
I mean, go ahead. You got something to say because I definitely got an answer for that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask if you had some input there.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna sound super cliche and corny, but it really is never too late to start. And drawing is one of those things that I know it's gonna sound super stupid coming from me, but anybody can do it. You just kind of have to be willing to put in the time to do it. And I would start, if I were you, I would start like by tracing. That's it sounds bad, like everybody looks down on tracing, but I would start by like just tracing stuff that you like, just so you can get a feel and like try to understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then just start looking at other artists and see what they do, and then try to mimic their style, things like that. And then once you get good at that, then you kind of branch off into your own and create your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I would start, like if you're doing the tutorials, that's a good thing to do. I mean, there's so many resources online now; it's insane.
Yeah. And you can really get a whole art education online
Yeah,
because there's so many people doing it.
like I you sing the praises of schoolism.com like none other, because that was just as important, if not more, to me in my I guess career now than college was, because I learned so much. I took 2 9-week courses and I learned so much. It completely changed like the trajectory of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely recommend schoolism, and I think it's a lot more affordable now than it was back when I took it, because I took it about almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more affordable now. So if Joe is interested in really trying to become an artist, that's definitely an avenue. Trying to think if there's some really good books to check out. I guess it kind of depends on what kind of art you want to do, though.
Mm-hmm.
Before I get like super specific about books to read and classes to take and artists to look at, but
Yeah, there's definitely a lot out there.
yeah, there's avenues for you to take. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. Never too late to start learning art. Never too late to get good at it. It's one of those things. It's like you have to decide. You have to be determined. You have to decide that you want something. You're going to work towards your goal, and no matter how long it takes you, you're going to keep going for it till you get there. There's artists who didn't start painting until their 80s, and they're very, very accomplished artists. And I guess when you're in your 80s, you have a lot of free time. But even so, working around a schedule with a family and a job, there's always time for something. And most people will watch movies, watch Netflix. There's a lot of different things that people will do as recreation to kill time. And if you can replace those things with drawing or studying, that's really the best way to accelerate the learning process and get better at art.
Yeah, like there is just there's no easy way to do this.
You have
There's
to want.
there's no shortcuts, man. Like you kind of just gotta get in it.
Yeah. Everybody wants the shortcuts, and everybody wants the one video that they're gonna watch, or the one technique, and it's really not about that. You could go your entire life and never learn everything there is to know about art.
Yeah, you can never be satisfied. Like the minute that you think like, oh, I'm pretty good, you're done.
Yeah.
Like you gotta keep trying to stay passionate about it, find things that you think are interesting, new stuff you want to try, new styles. You got to keep looking at other people's art, because that whole saying is like, when you're asleep, someone else is trying to take your spot. That's ridiculously true in art.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things you just gotta kind of keep pushing, and you know,
Yeah,
definitely prepare to struggle. Put it that way.
Yeah. Um, Comics Legend says special hello to Torren. This is Jamie. We used to work on a game about 5 or 6 years ago on a poker game. Great to see you're doing well.
Oh yeah. What's up, Jamie? All right, I believe it's Jaime.
Jaime, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, Jaime's been to a lot of my live streams, so it's a small world,
Oh yeah. And he's a good dude too.
definitely. Uh, Rora wants to know, can I make graphic design and concept art at the same time?
You can. That's really hard, but I mean it's doable. Those
Yeah.
are really two like entirely different disciplines, though.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something to be said about being focused on one thing versus too many things. Um, I kind of lean more towards being okay at a lot of different things rather than really really good at one thing, and that's kind of for me. It's not for everybody, but I started out doing a lot of graphic design before I got more into digital art, and now I do more digital art than graphic design. I really kind of got turned off to doing graphic design altogether,
Yeah.
just because I don't like being told what to do so much. But having that background in graphic design is very beneficial to me as an artist, as an illustrator, because I can make my own logo, I can make my own thumbnails for YouTube, I can make my own banners. When I'm producing a course, I know how to edit the course and make all the collateral for it and everything. And so for me and for my goals, I feel like it's very beneficial. For other people, it might be stretching themselves too thin, and it really depends on how you go about it. So I guess it's one of those things you just have to try new stuff and see if it works, and if it doesn't, move on to something else, or cut something out, and prioritize the option that's working better for you.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Um, Concept art, you're probably gonna have. It depends on if you're freelance or if you're working for someone else. If you're doing art just for yourself, I guess you can do whatever you want. But I'm guessing probably most concept art jobs are going to be for a client. And in either case, you're going to get feedback, and people are going to tell you how you should and shouldn't make your art. And if that bothers you, that's definitely something to consider. Um, but again, that was kind of what turned me off to graphic design, is having to get a very vague description from somebody, and then have them tell me after I kind of shoot in the dark that I didn't do it right, and then have to try to pick their brain, and it just, I don't know.
And if you're gonna try to get into concept art, like this is why I say concept art and graphic design are like completely different fields almost. Like concept design is about like versatility, variety, and speed. So if you can do a lot of different things that okay, let me rephrase this. If you can take one thing and draw it 50 different ways really fast, you're going to be a good concept artist, because that's what that's all about. It's about like searching and finding and experimenting. So if you're into that, then you go with the concept art. Graphic design is completely different. Graphic design is all like typography and you know layout design and things like that. Like it's almost like thinking on two different sides of the brain. So I think you could do both, but I do think it would be difficult to be really good at both.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and it depends on the kind of graphic designer that you want to be. Are you going to be more hand-drawn graphics and things, or are you going to do more like layouts and like basic shape tools and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Um, but I definitely think having done some graphic design has really benefited me. Will I ever go back to it? Not unless I have to.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things that I tried. I tried web design. I tried art lessons. I tried all kinds of different stuff, programming, making games, making music, and you know, it ruled out each one of them as being something that I wanted to do long term. Until I found something that I like, which is, getting people interested in art and teaching people how to make art. And through that, I can exhibit some of my work. And I like that because I can make a video the way I want. It's not like I'm going to upload the video and then YouTube is going to be like, oh, actually, we didn't like that segment at 2 minutes. Can you change that to something else?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for being your own boss.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Like, it's definitely a lot of pros and a lot of cons, but
Yeah, it's, making yourself get stuff done and making your own deadlines that you can break. That's that's
yeah.
tricky.
You got to be super disciplined if you're going to work for yourself. That I had to figure out the hard
Yeah.
way.
Um, Jaime wants to know, are we participating in Inktober?
I am not, just because I don't have time. I never have time. For some reason, every like end of September, I'm like, I'm gonna do it this year. I'm about to get these quill pens and this paper, and I'm gonna draw skeletons, and I'm gonna draw zombies. You see, I enjoy doing this stuff anyway, and then it's like freelance work, big project at work, and it's like I never have time to consistently do it, and it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see it, and I get on like Twitter and I get on Facebook, and I see all these cool ink drawings. Like, I want to do one of those, but I got to do all this other stuff for client XYZ over here because they need T-shirts. But it's a good problem to have. But maybe one day I won't be busy over Halloween.
I think it's a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody, for professionals and non-professionals. But I think it's geared more towards people who want to challenge themselves, or maybe who want to try to do something for practice. For people who are already making a lot of art every day, it's a hard thing to fit in. And I'm one of those people where, yeah, it would be fun if I had absolutely nothing else to do, then I would do that, because that's how much time it would take. I'd have to spend a good part of each day doing that. But I just, I have so many other responsibilities that it's just a hard thing to take on. I don't know. There's the other element of it that it's kind of promotional in a sense, and that's kind of a turnoff to me. I mean, I know it doesn't have to be, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So, I am not gonna do Inktober. Maybe like Torren. Maybe one year I will. But yeah, it takes a lot of time.
The Inktober thing, the problem with it is to do the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Is like you might be able to get through the first 5-6 days of October, but I don't. I know I'm never gonna have time to do 31 drawings that I'm comfortable like showing to people.
Oh yeah, especially.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I challenged myself back in 2011 to do a drawing for every day of the year, and a good chunk of those starting out were pretty good, but then you can definitely see big stretches of time where I was just burned out, and I just had to make something, and it was like abstract, just a bunch of colors or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there that's kind of embarrassing, and if people, I have had people look at it and comment and be like, oh, that portrait's not very good. And it's like, well, I did it in like a few hours in a day, and that it is what it is. But to do something like that it's brutal. I mean, 30 days versus 365 days, it still seems like, or it might seem pretty easy, but 30 days is still a lot of time to spend on something, because stuff comes up. Like you might be thinking, okay, October, yeah, I can do that, but what if your cat gets sick, or it's like something happens and all of a sudden you don't have all that extra time to do your drawings. Then you've talked up all this, like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do 30 drawings, and then you end up doing 2, and then it's kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, like when you do freelance work, it's feast or famine. Like I've literally gone like 2 3 months and had no freelance work, and then I'll get 4 jobs in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So if those 4 jobs come on October 16th, I'm not finishing in October. It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen. So it's like I just, even though it's really super cool, I just don't even start it because it's like I know something's gonna happen.
The drawing I'm doing here, I am inking, but it's not actual ink. So that's the other interesting talking point about Inktober is there's people who don't seem to mind doing it digitally, and then there's people who are like, absolutely no, you have to do it with actual ink. How do you feel about that?
I think that's crazy. Like I get it. I get that it's called Inktober, but it's like, come on, dude. It's 2017. I think we've kind of removed that stigma that the computer or digital art is cheating. I think we're kind of past that. And I
Mm-hmm.
was the dude who was on that wave 10, 12 years ago. Like I used to do everything with like acrylic paint and colored pencils, and I was like, I'll never tablet. Like the computer's doing everything for him.
Mm-hmm.
My buddy Sam was like, no, sir, it's not. And then he like gave me just like a quick rundown about how to use a Wacom tablet and everything, and changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like the Inktober stuff, personally, any if you want to do it on like a tablet or something like that, I think that's fine because it's not like it's gonna draw it for you.
Yeah.
You still have to know how to draw to do anything on a tablet. Like I let my 10-year-old godson use my stuff. He's not like getting work because he's using my Cintiq.
Yeah.
He still is just a kid. Like it's not gonna make you a awesome artist. Like you got to work at it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I look at the Photoshop and Painter and GIMP and all that other stuff. I think it's just another tool.
Yeah. Definitely. And you know, there's a certain discipline that goes along with working with actual ink. Like you can smear it and ruin your whole piece, but I don't think that necessarily makes it better. It just makes it more difficult. And for me, art is about enjoying myself. So, you know, like yeah, I could do it with actual ink, but there'd be no benefit to me to do it that way. Like if I wanted to record that process, I'd have to set up a camera over my shoulder, and you know, it'd be all this extra work versus I could just do a drawing on my computer like I'm doing now and record it, and you know it's all digital, it's already done, and I don't have to photograph it or scan it or any of that stuff. And I'm still inking, you know, I'm still using the same um, you know, the same hand gestures, similar kind of tool that you know responds to pen pressure and hatching and stippling and all that stuff. So
Like I have the utmost respect for all traditional artists, especially inkers and stuff like that with comics, because you can't make any mistakes, quote unquote. I mean, you can, and there's whiteout and stuff like that, but it's a lot harder than Control Alt Z.
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that technically doesn't make this person a better artist because they're not using a computer.
Yeah.
So that's where it gets dumb to me. It's like, if you take like Tom Richmond, he does all this stuff for Mad Magazine. He can do traditional, but he also does digital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not all of a sudden going to be a worse artist if he just went strictly digital. He's
No.
still going to be phenomenal. He's just going to be using a computer.
Yeah.
So like, skill is skill. Like I said, it's just a tool.
So this I guess would be as close as I'm going to come to doing Inktober.
I'm not even trying. I know I'm not going to get through it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a ink drawing that's Halloween themed, and the thing is, like, for me, I already kind of have a plan, and that's to do Halloween themed drawings for my YouTube channel. So
Yeah.
you know, I've got a theme, and it's a challenge. It's just a different challenge, but I mean, it's definitely good to have things like that to inspire people and to get them to draw and paint, Because sometimes that's what stops a lot of people is they don't know what to do.
I just thought of something. I need to another horror related thing here.
Cool. Let's see
This
it.
is just a sketch of why am I drawing a blank on his name? He's a guy from Don't Breathe.
Oh, I don't
And
know.
only reason I'm feeling the need to show this is because I still get people who think I don't draw.
Yeah.
That I'm just like taking these photos and like manipulating them and stuff like that. That's not what's going on. I start with just lines and ink in Photoshop, just like it would be on a piece of paper. So this is a rough sketch, and I never finished it, like the painting. But this is how every single one of like that, like this started out the same way, like is any like this. I got rough sketches just like that. They all start and they finish here, but they all started as one of these.
Mm-hmm.
That's just for any potential naysayers or critics that might
Yeah.
be lurking in the comments who think that I'm not serious about the pen. Just in case.
Yeah, it's there's always going to be people who have to pick stuff apart, and I don't know that any of them are really like. If you're a busy artist and you've got a life and you've got stuff to do and you've got art to make, you're not going to be sitting around in the comments tearing down other people's work. And I think the people who are taking the time to do that are wasting their time doing that. They should be spending that time making art if they're so interested in art,
There's haters everywhere. I welcome them. I need more, honestly, but because that's just how you know you're doing the right thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I don't worry about that, but I still get it. I don't get it anywhere near as much as I used to, and I just kind of like to point it out. Like, yes, I'm drawing from scratch. I'm not, taking photographs and chopping up anything or moving anything around. Like, it's all just like the same as if I had a piece of paper and some pens.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if we got another question here. No, we don't. So feel free to ask some questions. I'm gonna dig into my little question box here and throw something at you. Let's see what we got here. What are your interests outside of art?
Like as far as what, just like what I'm into
Yeah.
in general.
What do you do when you're not making art?
I mean, I'm always making art, but I'm a huge movie guy, big video game guy, big music guy. So normally that and like I'm doing one of those four things. I'm either drawing, listening to music, watching movies, playing video games, or a combination of the four. And if it's not that, I'm probably with like family and stuff. That's about it.
Are they modern games or like retro games?
I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so like I played a lot of the retro games, but now I'm kind of on the PS4 and the Xbox.
Yeah. I'm old. I'm kind of behind the times. I think the last PlayStation I played was PlayStation 2, and that was like barely a couple of games. I loved PlayStation 1, but yeah, I kind of dropped off. Mainly, not necessarily because I don't like video games, but just because I liked video games a lot, and I could see that as being something that would become a problem for me. Like it'd be hard for me to manage my time.
There's a lot of unplayed video games in my house
Yeah.
because of like my art stuff. Because like like I buy video games with every intention of like spending a solid weekend doing nothing but playing it, and then something happens and got to pick up the Photoshop or something, and eventually it goes a month and Batman's just not going to get played.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of got to deal with it.
Are you of the philosophy that if you work really hard now, at some point you'll be able to just kind of retire and play all the games you want, and
like I'm in the middle because I like to think that way, but I know it's not true. But I still tell myself that lie every day. Like I'm gonna work hard really now. When I'm like 45, oh man, I'm gonna go back in my back catalog and I'm gonna play Assassin's Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not gonna happen, but
It might. It might.
it keeps me going.
Yeah.
If I just think like, yeah, you're gonna have like this much work and or more until you're dead, it's like that's depressing.
Yeah.
Like I gotta think of those days. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some point in time where I'm gonna have like 2 solid weeks to just play video games.
Mm-hmm.
Probably won't happen, but
Yeah.
again, that's another good problem to have.
Yeah. Put a lot of things on the back burner. Like it would be fun to make animations and stuff, and I've dabbled with it in the past, but it's just such a time commitment that
Yeah,
with having to be a full-time artist and then take on hobbies that require a lot of time, it's a very difficult thing to do. But I feel like if I work really hard, I could get to a point to where I'd have more free time, but that's hard to say because I have a lot more free time now, and I just end up filling it with more work.
yeah.
So,
I mean, I
uh,
think free time is kind of like a byproduct of like ambition. Like it kind of depends on how hard you want to go at stuff, how much free time.
hmm yeah, I'm kind of a workaholic, so I tend to use my free time for making art and editing videos and things like that. I used to go out more and be more social, and now I don't. But
Yeah, I feel
it comes and goes in waves, I guess. Um, Joe wants to know what are our favorite go-to programs for digital art.
I am a Photoshop guy, but Painter is awesome, and I dabble in Painter every now and again. It's just gotten to that point where I'm so comfortable with Photoshop that I use it. Like I do stuff in Photoshop without thinking about it.
Yeah,
It is kind of like it's second nature, but Painter is definitely dope.
yeah, it's hard to learn something new. Like I'll open up other applications and check them out for reviews and stuff like that, and it's like you go from like I mean it's just like you with Photoshop. I'll open up Painter and I can just start making a painting, but you open up something that you're not familiar with, and even if you can kind of find stuff and you kind of know where stuff is, you're just fumbling around, and you're all that frustration is eating away at your motivation to paint.
Yeah,
And if it takes you twice as long to make a painting because you can't find what you're looking for, it's just not very efficient. So I can see why a lot of artists don't want to, or it's not that they don't want to, it's just, they're more comfortable in other applications, and that's why they don't switch to something else. But honestly, if it works for you, it's not like your art's going to look any different, like your style's still going to be your style, and you're working in a different interface. You might be able you might be able to approach some effects differently, but it's not like any one application is going to make you a better artist.
yeah. Like for me, it just breaks down to like that. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna paint something in Photoshop, it's like if I want a specific type of texture for like skin or something, I already know. Not only do I have the brush to do that, I know where it is.
Yeah.
I don't have to figure it out. Where like Painter, even though Painter is like I said fantastic, I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to get it to look how I want. Where Photoshop, I've done it so much, I already know, and I can just get into doing what I want to do. That's the
Yeah.
only reason I haven't, jumped back and forth more often.
Mhm. Yeah, I use both. I don't do any painting in Photoshop, but I use it a lot for manipulating my image as I'm working on it and just putting the little finishing touches on it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's pros. Like, there's stuff that one program does better than the other. Like, Painter's brush engine is light years beyond Photoshop, in my opinion. Like, it's
Yeah.
but all the color correction stuff and all the stuff like that is better on Photoshop.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's nice that they have the cross compatible formats like PSD where you can work between the two applications. And um, people ask me like, would you choose between Photoshop and Painter? And I usually say no because I use both, so you
and
should
we've been
use both
talking
too.
about Photoshop and Painter. There's also Manga Studio. Like, if I have to ink anything, I get it. I ink it there because
Yeah.
their ink engine is crazy.
Yeah, it's nice and smooth, and it's good for comic book panels and like word
Yeah.
bubbles and stuff because it has like a little widget that makes it can make like dynamic word bubbles and stuff. Saves you tons of time.
And that line stabilizer is, oh, I love that thing because my
Yeah.
hand kind of shakes when I have to pull really long stretches. So having
Mm-hmm.
that line stabilizer helps a lot.
Yeah.
So really, I actually do use all three of those, but it's probably like 90% Photoshop though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think most people watching will know that I'm a Corel Painter guy. Um, that's what I'm using right now, Corel Painter 2018. As I mentioned, I use Photoshop not for drawing, but for editing my image and adding effects. I also like Art Rage. It's a good kind of low profile painting application. It gives you some pretty nice realistic looking results without being too overwhelming in the interface. If you want an application that's not going to have like the same amount of controls as the Space Shuttle,
Yeah,
um, Art Rage is a good option. Rebel is also a very, very easy to use, very simple interface, and it gives you some like really, really top of the line watercolor and liquid media effects. I mean, you can put down paint and it drips like it's actually water. Very good application. I don't use it, but Krita is also very popular, and that's a free application, and it can do quite a bit of stuff. So there's a lot of good options out there for software.
yeah. Is R Rage free?
There is a free version, like a light version, but the paid version I think is like between like $30 and $50. I think it's like right around $50, so it's actually pretty cheap as applications go.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Um, Jaime wants to know: have we considered dabbling with ZBrush?
Yes, I've definitely considered it, and that program scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, me too.
And I want to learn it, and I think I probably will learn it at some point. I just don't know when that point is. But I'm getting to the point where I almost feel like it's going to be a necessity for me to learn ZBrush. But
Mm-hmm.
I that program intimidates me for sure.
Yeah. That's kind of one of those things, we were talking earlier about doing graphic design and doing concept art at the same time. It's kind of like that with ZBrush. It's like it takes so much dedication and time to learn it and to get good at it that it almost has to be what you do and has to be your focus. At least that's what I gather.
Yeah,
Because you've seen the stuff that Mike Meth has done in it, right?
yeah.
Like that, if I could get to that level, that would be awesome. But I don't think I'm, I could kind of tell from what he'd been posting that was his focus,
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't posting much, many 2D paintings and stuff. And so, for me to commit that amount of focus to ZBrush now, that would be something that I'd be doing for fun. It wouldn't really be something that I could make money off of. And I could record videos of myself, pathetically struggling through the application, but they wouldn't really have much value to people who would be searching for that, because they'd want competent ZBrush tutorials, you know, not me fumbling through the program.
I think because it can be done. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Mike Thompson, but
Mm-hmm.
he's a friend of me and Mike Meth's. He does both really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he kind of did it was the way that if I ever do it, I'll probably do it the same way, where he got really good at painting, then learned ZBrush to make the painting better, and now he's just awesome at ZBrush too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason I wanted to learn it. Like, I don't necessarily want to learn ZBrush to become a 3D artist. I just kind of want to use it to help make my other stuff better.
Mm-hmm. How does he use it? Does he does a painting and then he does like a sculpture from the painting?
Well, see, like that's what he started doing, because he started getting these jobs for like DC and Marvel, where you have to sculpt all these like figures for these for like box art and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of like shooting all this reference and trying to have friends pose for you and stuff like that, he's like, I'm gonna learn ZBrush and just create these these bodies in that program. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what got him started. And so he was just taking it, learning ZBrush to create these 3D forms to then use as reference and then paint from.
That
And
makes
he
sense.
just got really good at ZBrush, and so now he's just dope at both of them.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can follow in his footsteps, but right now that program just scares the hell out of me.
The other, I think, turn off, or not necessarily turn off, but the other kind of barrier obstacle for me is it's a really expensive application too. It's like ridiculously expensive, so it's not like I can just just buy the thing and just have it and learn it at my own
I
leisure.
think it's like $700-800, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's
So that
crazy.
it's a bit too pricey. Um, so we're at an hour now. How are you doing on time?
I'm good.
Do we want to try to go for another half hour or so?
Sure. Can I step out for half a second?
Sure.
All right, I'll be right back.
Cool. So I'll just talk a little bit about what it is that I'm working on here. This, as I hinted at earlier, is going to be a Halloween-themed drawing, and I'm going to put up a speed painting of it on my channel. So this is a haunted tree. I sketched it out in Corel Painter, and then now I'm inking it. I don't know, I probably will end up having it black and white. We'll have to see. What I did is I went ahead and just filled in along all the edges of the lines there, and then filled in the center with a paint bucket. People always ask me, why don't I just use the paint, or just use the magic wand to make selections? I just feel like selections are a bit too sloppy and unpredictable, and sometimes you get edge feathering and just different things, and so I don't like to do selections. So I went ahead and just manually did that. The reason why I created that flat layer underneath my ink was because then I'm covering up that space in the background there. I have a few other videos, or a few other ideas for paintings, and so I'll probably try to do a good handful of them as kind of a Halloween series, and so you get to see me kind of create one of these, or create part of this real time. Using basically one brush here, and this is the rough ink. It's a variant of the scratchboard tool, but it just has a little bit of jaggedness to the edge, and I feel like that kind of helps with like the tree texture and the kind of creepy theme of the tree.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Thank you. The other one I did is a really photorealistic painting of a candy corn. I know a lot of people are looking forward to that. That's one of those things where you start painting and you get probably about a quarter of the way through, and it could pass as candy corn, but to take it to that next level of like, this really, really, really looks like candy corn, it takes, like a lot more effort, and it's just very like fine details that you wouldn't normally think to look at. Because I painted it from a large reference, and so it's a lot bigger than it needs to be, but then when it breaks down smaller, it looks just like a candy corn.
Yeah, I mean, that's my life. is, paying attention to a lot of really small details, and up close it's really kind of like messy and crazy looking, and then when you zoom out it all kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the, typically if it looks good small, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And so I go back and forth a lot between stuff, and, looking at it. I don't generally look at stuff very close, because I don't really see the point in it, If it's an object in the background, like that house, for instance, behind Freddy Krueger, I might zoom into the house or something, but overall, I'm never really zoomed in too close to something.
Like I kind of go back and forth because like I really really got in like in here. I was probably painting all this probably like at this scale right here, and I think it's just because of what it was like, all those little bitty folds and kind of. But then you see like when you back out, like, you can see how rough and kind of messed up. Like, you can even see like canvas and stuff underneath there. It's like in the nose, but then when you back out, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's just Freddy.
Roar wants to know if you happen to know off the top of your head a good book for perspective, or
Uh,
a resource or something to help learn perspective.
the I'm not gonna say the only book, but the one I read that is it was helpful. I don't do a ton of comic stuff, so I'm not like an aficionado on it. But there's this book I believe it's called like 2D perspective for comic artists, and I think that one might be able to help you at least starting out.
Yeah, I don't know if I know any off the top of my head. I mean, there's definitely lots of great tutorials out there, and the general principles. Once you get those down, I think most information, most techniques showing you how to do it are going to follow those principles. But there are some that some people have their own ways of doing things. Um, if you're working digitally, you always have these wonderful perspective guides in some of these applications, where you can use the guides to create the vanishing point, and then you don't have to use a ruler to do it or manually draw them. And I think that also will probably help you learn what perspective is and how it works. The applications that use it are Corel Painter, I believe Clip Studio Paint has it, Art Rage now has it. I don't know if Krita does. Krita might. Aurora likes PaintStorm, Studio, and Medibang. Haven't tried PaintStorm. I couldn't get it to install. Tried Medibang. It was all right. Joe wants to know my thoughts on Krita. It's a good. It's of the free applications, I feel like it's the best out of all the ones I've tried. So that would be the one I'd recommend to anybody who wants a free art application. Have you tried Krita?
I actually have not. In the book I was talking about, it's called Vanishing Point.
Oh, okay.
Vanishing Point perspective for comics from the ground up. That's the name of the book. So check that out. But yeah, I've never tried Krita. I don't actually know anything about it.
Yeah, it's just a free open source art application. It's pretty robust. It's got a lot of Photoshop's like Photoshop kind of features in it to do editing stuff, and lots and lots of brushes that can do a lot of different things. I think it actually has blenders. That's kind of one of the like what's the phrase I'm thinking of? It an art application for me has to have blenders, Otherwise, yeah. I'm not going to use it. Let's see. Feel free to comment in and ask us some art-related questions. And while I'm waiting for you to do that, let me see if I can find another one for Torren here. I know I've asked you this before, and you this kind of seems to happen to you a lot. How have things been going with people stealing your work? Have you found that that's still happening a lot, or is it kind of died down a little bit?
It still happens. It doesn't happen. It doesn't feel like it happens quite as frequently, and I think that's because I don't do as much personal work as I used to. But it still does happen.
Mm-hmm.
It happened, I want to say, in June, I think.
Okay, so not that long ago.
Yeah, it's been less than 6 months. But that was the first time that it happened in a few years.
Yeah.
But it definitely happened, and luckily for me, I haven't had to, like, lawyer up or anything.
Yeah.
And I can normally just get in contact with the people, and they know what they're doing. Like, they know they're stealing. And then like the weirdest thing I've come across more than once is like people not stealing my work for monetary gain, but just for like personal stuff. Like trying to pass my stuff off as their own for like popularity. That's weird
Mm-hmm.
to me than trying to get money. Like
Yeah.
that's happened to me twice now, where it's like that's just odd. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those are strange situations. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's died down, but it still happens.
Yeah, I look now and then. I just feel like I have so much stuff out there. Uh, it's time consuming. I don't have enough time to look for everything I've put out to see if it's being used. And the few times recently that I have looked for just a few pieces, when I find one, it's like there's a dozen different places that are using it, and then I have to take the time to figure out how to contact each one of them and write an email. And even if I copy and paste it, still that's just taking time out of my day. A lot of them aren't necessarily people using it commercially. It might just be somebody using it on a website and it's still got the watermark from wherever they stole it from and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And then even if I email all those people, only a small fraction of them will comply or even get back to me. And then it's not worth it for me to to spend all that extra time like getting a lawyer and I don't know, if somebody was using it, if I found somebody using something commercially and I knew they were making money off of it, then I would, most definitely, I would want that money because that's my money. But if it's just somebody using a picture on their blog or whatever, and there's no harm in that, I guess I gotta kind of let that slide. But
yeah. Like I don't really care so much if it's on a website so much like that. But like I've had people like try to put my stuff on T-shirts and coffee cups and stuff like that. Like that, I can't let slide. Like the
no,
thing that got shut down in June was like a T-shirt campaign that had, I think it was one of my Wu-Tang Clan paintings on it, and they were
mm-hmm,
trying to sell shirts. And luckily, like a lot of people are familiar with my stuff, so I personally have never caught anybody. Other people catch you and tell me about it.
yeah,
Never like, yeah, I've never went and like, let me Google myself real fast. Let me find. It's like it's always somebody that I'm cool with, and it might be somebody on the other side of the planet. I've had dudes from, like overseas and in London, like, hey, I saw this over here. Is this yours? Take care of that. So
mm-hmm,
thank God for good people like that. But
yeah, yeah, because otherwise it's hard to come across.
yeah,
It just takes time out of your day that you could be spending making art to try to enforce your rights for it, and
yeah.
I don't know. It
Luckily,
kind of
it's become a huge problem, and I've always been able to shut everybody down. But
yeah. Well, that's how you know you're doing good when you got people stealing your work.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of flattering. Like, I just still the guys that were just trying to like pass it off as their own. Like, I had a guy who was entering Facebook contests with paintings of mine and like winning and stuff. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It was so strange. And then when they caught him, it turned into like this big like mob mentality thing, and everybody was riding the dude, and it like just like chill out, let him live. It's gonna be
Yeah,
okay. Like he didn't hurt my family or anything.
yeah.
He stole a Godfather painting. Like chill out. It was an interesting time.
Um, Dr. Alpenfawn wants to know, how does one watermark one's creations?
I mean, I just created a watermark. Like I have a logo that I'm sure you guys can see here on the stream.
Mm-hmm.
The 278, which I will break that down because I know somebody in the back of their head is probably wondering. The 278 is, if you look at the keys on a phone, it just spells out art. And I got tired of doing like the same thing that everybody else did, like first name last name art or first name last name.com. Like a million artists have torrenthomasart.com, which was my first website or torrenthomasartist.com, or something like that. So I just did something different and just spelled out the art in numbers.
That's
But
cool.
but as far as your watermark question, I just took that logo and I took all the color out of it, and I made it to where it was just black and white, and then I made it a screen layer in Photoshop. And what that does is it removes all the black. Black becomes transparent, and then you just see the white part, and then you just drop the opacity down to like 15-20%, and then you're done.
And then you just drop that in on top of every image once you're done, and there you go.
Yep.
So you're fine with just kind of stamping it like in the corner, or do you put it like covering the image?
It kind of depends. Like, if I do something I really feel like is gonna you know, get the eye of those scammers, I'll just put it like dead center in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But because here it is. It's on the Pennywise thing right here. That's my watermark. And
Yeah.
I didn't think it was gonna be a big deal. I didn't want to disrupt the image or anything. I didn't think it was a huge deal. There's tons of people have been painting Pennywise. I just did this for fun. So I just put it in the corner as a way of signing it. Now, if I had painted something I really felt like somebody was going to try to put on a t-shirt, I'll blow that thing up and put it right over his face.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely good advice.
Yeah.
There's lots of different ways to make it. I think the way Torren suggested is probably the best. You have a reusable asset that's just something like a PNG with a transparent background that you can just drop in. If you want to just do it like simple text, that can just be something that you reuse. There are applications like, I believe, Lightroom, possibly, I don't know if Adobe Bridge does it or not, but I'm pretty sure in Lightroom you can, and probably even Photoshop, there's probably a script you can run that'll just stamp a copyright, copyright whatever the date is, whatever your name is, as text on each of the images. People can remove copyrights, or people can remove watermarks, though, pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, my watermark is pretty complex, so it's hard to paint it out. So I would probably advise you, if you're going to do the watermark thing, to do something a little on the complex side, or if it's simple, maybe do it more than one time. That way, it's harder to paint it out of your image. And this thing here has a copyright, but just so you know, people cut this out all the time.
Yeah.
So I've had it in up in corners and stuff at the bottom. I have it on a ton of my work, but the people who steal it, they literally just cut that part of the image out. So just fair warning on that.
Yeah, and you said earlier, you don't always want the watermark to disrupt the piece. And it's what do you do? Do you put it close to the image to where people can't remove it, or do you put it off to the side? I mean, it's in protecting the image with a watermark, you're in some ways lessening the value of it, aesthetically, by having that text over it.
It's just a personal choice. You got to decide: are you really trying to show this to make some money, or are you just really trying to show and share this with people? Because that's what I did with the Pennywise. I had no intention of trying to sell prints of that or really use it for promotional work or anything. I just dig Pennywise and I painted him. So I put the watermark there, just hey, this is who painted it. But it wasn't stay away from my work. But there's other things that I've done that was yeah, I got to watermark this.
Yeah. Sounds like that answered his question.
That's good.
Let's see here. I got a question for you from my repertoire. Do you ever paint digitally on your computer, or not on your computer? Do you ever paint digitally on your phone or tablet? Like an iPad kind of tablet?
Not on mine. My godson has a iPad, and he's actually pretty good to be 10, and he wants to be an artist. So I've kind of showed him a few things. That's the only time I've ever painted on a tablet. I don't dig small screens as far as art. Like I have a Cintiq Companion, and even that's like pushing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if you count that as a tablet, then yeah, because I use it from time to time. Like if I'm away from my house for a long period of time and I get bored at like a friend's house or something, I'll whip that thing out and paint.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the time.
Yeah. That's that's a pretty sweet tablet. I think, yeah, it's like if you have something bigger to use, you're definitely going to use the bigger screen. But when you're out away from your office, it's like, yes, I got a computer and I got a tablet and it's all in one, and I can,
Yeah.
I can still do art even though I'm away.
Like I went to Ohio a few years ago for a ISCA convention, and like I was out there drawing caricatures and stuff, and it was cool just to be able to like literally run Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
on this tablet, like not some app version of it, like full Photoshop on this tablet. Like that was pretty sweet. So everything I can do at this computer I'm sitting at right now, I can do on the road. That's why it's worth the money. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm here, there's no way I'm going to be staring at that little screen when I got a Cintiq. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I really only use mine for, like if I'm on the road, like you said, or I do paintings outside. Like actually, yesterday I went down to the beach and did a painting, but it was I didn't pick a very good location. Like it was a location that looked good and it would have made a good painting, but it was like right on the beach and it was so bright that I could really like see like maybe like 5% of the screen.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a small screen, getting sunburned, and I can barely see what I'm doing. But I still got like pretty far through it because it's like at this point, I've used the color picker so many times and I've done so many paintings that like even if I can't really see what I'm doing, I can still fumble my way through it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. But now like half of my face is sunburned. Um, I've dabbled in painting on my phone a little bit, but I'm with you on that. If the screen's too small, it's just you know it's hard to go back to something like that. Like I did a little bit of painting on the iPad when I had one, and that was before I had the Cintiq Companion, and it was awesome. It was like great. I can go outside and I can go to the park and do paintings. But then I got a Surface Pro, and that was like a step up from that, and that was even better. And then I got the Cintiq Companion, and that was even better. And then it's like if I had to go back to the iPad or the Surface Pro, it'd be sad.
Like I don't. How does anybody paint on their phone? Like I guess maybe you got like a Note, like a Galaxy Note, that would work. But
They
like
do
I
they
don't.
do they do
That's
crazy
crazy.
stuff.
Like, I have an S8 Plus, and like that's one of the bigger phones that you can get, and I never even attempted to paint on that thing.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's one of those things where that's all that somebody has, and so they're gonna use it.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean I'm not knocking it. It's just like that's crazy. Like I couldn't imagine getting anything super duper good for me done on such a small screen. It would just be like my eyes would be crossing and so
it would be a chore. Yeah,
yeah, like it's like I'd just rather wait till I got home and try to paint on this phone.
it's cool that you can do it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not for me.
Like I wonder who's doing like real work on the phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
Like I would probably sketch. Like I've sketched on, like I said, on my godson's iPad. I've drawn him Street Fighter characters and stuff like that. But like I wonder, can you do like a legit like portrait on that thing?
yeah, I've seen some stuff. I can't name anything off the top of my head, but yeah, there's some stuff out there. There's a guy who does finger painting on the iPad. He did a like a super photorealistic painting of Morgan Freeman.
I
That's
remember that. I remember. I thought that was fake.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
was really
They
good.
they had to have him send something that they analyzed the data of it or whatever to like see if it was actually like painted rather than cloned or traced or anything like that.
Yeah, I think Mike Meth showed me the video of that a few years ago. I thought that was fake because that was ridiculous.
Yeah, and he did that with his finger in an application that's not super sophisticated. I want to say it was like Procreate or something, probably.
Yeah, Or I think it
So,
was that Autodesk Sketch Pro,
oh, okay, yeah, sketchbook.
which made it even crazier because that it's not like super painterly. It's more like of a sketch program. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a little nuts. But shout out to that guy because that was impressive. So if you're doing that on your phone, more power to you.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Still no more questions. Feel free to ask us questions about digital art or
Whatever.
art or whatever, anything. Whatever you want to know, we will answer it. I'm looking through my questions here. As far as promoting yourself and getting work, what do you think has worked best for you?
Being an absolute whore. No. uh, I would probably say I'd have to go with like I don't know like what are the options, like what do you mean what's worked
Well, I mean,
best?
like, is it people going to your website or like word of mouth or like projects that you've done for previous clients?
Honestly, I think it's a combination of all three. Like I can't say one has worked more than the other because I probably close to equal amounts of all three.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you'll just happen to know the right person that has seen, your website, or they've worked with somebody that you worked with, and then they want to hire you to do something that's happened. And there's other people who've just seen random things that you've done because like I put it on Facebook, like all kind of stuff like that has happened. DeviantArt, uh, CG Society, ArtStation, Behance. Like I have profiles on all of those, as well as my personal website. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I don't get super traffic like from one more than the other. It's just like you kind of just got to plant a lot of seeds. So you might get
Yeah.
3 people, but if you get 3 or 4 people that are potential clients from 6 7 different websites, you'd be all right.
Yeah. So there's value in doing a little bit of everything. I have to agree with that. And it's so easy nowadays to set up a lot of that stuff. It's just why not do it and see what works.
Yeah. One thing I would say is that if anybody is gonna, get into self promotion, do what you do. Don't do other people, because then, like, because if when they do see you, they're gonna want to hire you to do that. And if you don't really like doing that, and you just did that because you think it's gonna sell, you're gonna hate yourself.
Yeah.
So just do what you do, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I'm kind of at that point with my YouTube channel where a lot of these channels that have a million subscribers or hundreds of thousands, they do a lot of fan art stuff, and no, there's no problem with like fan art. Like I've done my fair share of it, but I feel like I'm more into doing like landscapes and like still lifes and stuff. And so while I know fan art would get me a lot more views, that's just not that's not the kind of direction that I want to take, because that's what I'll have to keep doing if I want to sustain that. So it's a little tricky to like focus down on what you really want to do and not give in to the temptation of doing what you think is going to work, based on what you've seen other people do.
Yeah, like because I'm a primarily a caricature artist, and I used to do a ton of those like challenges and contests and stuff, and I stopped doing them because it started to feel like I'm drawing what's hot right now, and that's not what I want to do. I want to draw what I want to draw,
Mm-hmm.
and that's actually worked out because instead of like I'll use Sebastian Kruger, and the Rolling Stones. Nobody's gonna caricature those guys better than he did. It's just
Mm-hmm.
not gonna happen. but there's a million Keith Richards characters online. There's a million Steven Tyler caricatures online, but there aren't very many caricatures of like the Flatbush Zombies.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like honestly, it's maybe this might be the only one. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. And if it's not, it can't be more than one of 10. And I didn't do that because I thought this would be popular, or I'm trying to like get their attention. I'm just a fan of their music,
Mm-hmm.
and so I did the painting. The same thing with the Halloween thing. I started this Halloween painting over a month ago. I didn't have anything to do with I got to get hyped for Halloween season. I just love those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to get in. Same with Pennywise. I wasn't trying to like really get super involved because the movie was coming out. I was hyped for the movie.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. Like I just don't. I don't know. It always felt like for me, anytime I've tried to chase anything, and which I have done, but anytime I've done it, it didn't really work out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would kind of like advise people to not do that. Like don't draw the hot stuff. Like
Yeah.
when Breaking Bad was out, there was a million Walter White pieces, but like I wonder how many of those people were actually like obsessed with the show like I was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they weren't, but I don't think all of them were.
I've seen some weird stuff like recently. Like there's a couple of different channels, both pretty big YouTube channels, did portraits of Taylor Swift, and it's like, I'm not knocking anybody who likes Taylor Swift, but I'm pretty sure that these two guys were not Taylor Swift fans. It was like purely
Yeah,
like that's a hot search topic, so they want to get some views.
yeah, like personally, if I'm painting Taylor Swift, you can guarantee you I've been paid. Like
Yeah.
there's somebody cut a check if I'm paying Taylor Swift, guarantee it. Not nothing against her, but that's just it's not gonna happen unless there's a check involved.
Yeah.
So like to just and maybe those guys really just love Taylor Swift, but like I agree with you, I highly doubt it. And I'm just like I just don't feel like it really works out. Like if you do this stuff like this is gonna go like people are gonna dig this prior like just draw what you like.
Yeah. And if you like drawing Taylor Swift, by all means,
Yeah, if you
do
if
that.
you love Taylor Swift, make a shrine, do what you gotta do. But personally, that's not my thing.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on our end of the live stream here, I think. So maybe we'll use the last few minutes here. If anybody has any last minute questions they'd like us to answer, feel free to shout those out. But while we're waiting on that, is there anything else you'd like to show off? Do you want to like do a screen share your website and stuff like that so we know where to find you after the live stream?
Or I can do that. Let me
I'm
pull
not
it
sure what else to do to my tree here. Like I kind of want to do more to the background, but I don't know. I'm at that point now where it's like if I take a break and come back to it, I'll probably have some ideas, but until then it's like I don't even know what to do.
Yeah, I mean you gotta do that every now and again. You gotta step away.
Mhm.
But yeah, anybody who's interested in any of my work, my website is really easy to remember. It's just Torren278.com. Just run through a few things here. There's various portraits and some of the stuff I showed earlier. Just a few things that I've done. If anybody's ever interested in a commission, just hit that contact button up there and it'll send an email to my phone and we can work something out.
I like the Macho Man painting. That one's good.
Oh man, I love wrestling, dude.
I kind of Yeah, I was really into it from like the '80s until probably the end of the '90s, and then I just kind of, I don't know, I kind of dropped off. But
Like, I started watching right before like the Stone Cold Steve Austin era, like 96, 97, and somewhere
yeah,
in, and I still watch it and I hate it. But I keep watching it to see if it's gonna get better, and it's not. But I just keep watching it. I don't know. It's
yeah,
a kind of guilty pleasure. Like it's like when you do something for 20 years, like you just kind of keep doing it.
yeah,
But I love Macho Man.
yeah. That would probably be my favorite wrestler.
Macho Man.
Yeah,
I think my favorite wrestler of all time has got to be The Rock.
yeah. I like The Rock a lot too in his heyday. Not, it's not a bad actor too.
Yeah, man, he's just awesome.
Unlike that Hulk Hogan guy. That's that's a hard thing to cope with. Hulk Hogan was such an icon for me as a kid, and I really looked up to him. And then later in life, man, you just find out he's not the kind of person you thought he was,
He
and
went way downhill.
lost a lot of respect for Hulk Hogan.
He is not a real American.
Mm-mm. And what's funny enough is Rick Derringer, the guy who wrote the Hulk Hogan theme song, is also an avid Trump supporter. Or that's not to say that Hulk Hogan's a Trump supporter. I didn't mean that. I don't know whether he is or not.
Mike.
But well, I think Linda McMahon is on one of Trump's councils, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
she had, I can't remember what it is, but she definitely has a job with Trump.
She's the secretary of wrestling, I think, for all those important matters in
Yeah.
America. Wrestling's up there, exploiting and wrestling. Right, we made sure to get a little political at the end there.
Oh yeah.
Can't,
We could have did that live stream, man.
yeah,
I mean, it's pretty clear where I stand.
yeah.
I don't
And
think I have to say too much.
I like a lot of the political pieces that you put out. The Trump one with the Skittles is particularly good.
Yeah, that's the one that me and a young man got into it about.
Oh, there's lots of people who like to get into it about stuff like that.
He thought it was quote unquote too much hate. And I
Uh,
didn't think it was enough. Like I told him, like I could have went way harder at him, and I probably will,
yeah,
given enough free time.
I
I
don't
mean,
think it's. I don't really see how it's hate though. All you're really doing is stating the obvious, and it's things that that person has openly supported. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
I mean,
it's
this is stuff he's done. What do you want me to do?
Yeah. So that's if there's any issue, take it up with the person who's saying and doing the hateful things that are really just being reiterated, by
Yeah, I
someone
didn't,
else.
I didn't, I didn't poke fun at anything that he hasn't actually done.
Yeah. It's like the people who draw him, with like small genitalia and stuff and make fun of how he looks. I don't think that's really necessarily has any value, but to just simply point out the terrible things that are going on because of this person, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it raises awareness, and I think that's our job as artists. Part of our purpose as artists to raise awareness about causes that we're passionate about. And if people want to criticize me for saying I'm fed up with something or standing up for the rights of people, let them criticize me for it, and they can unlike my page and unsubscribe and all that stuff. But
Oh yeah,
it's a tiny, tiny, tiny drop in the bucket, and the vast majority of people who are my fans are people who more or less agree with me on most things. So I'm not too worried about losing my entire fan base because I post something negative about someone
yeah.
I don't like or agree with.
I'm not too concerned with people having opinions about me. So I mean, if you support Trump, I mean that's fine. I mean, I don't personally understand how you could, just given some of the things that we've been seeing over the past few months. But do you? As long as we keep it civil, I'm fine. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna like. I don't hate Trump supporters. I'm confused by some of them. I'm a little worried about a certain sect of them, but
Yeah.
some people just wanted things to be different and they made a decision. I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I definitely have the right to say, I'm not rocking with anything that man stands for at all. I
Yeah.
have no qualms about telling that to anybody openly. If you're mad, tweet me, hit the contact right. That goes right to my phone. Say what you gotta say, and I'll respect it. It's whatever. But you can expect Trump to get this artistic work the entire time he's in the presidency, and maybe even after. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It depends how much free time I got.
Maybe he'll take up art like George W. Bush did.
Yeah, like, we can just beef with each other. Like, we can just trade shots via painting. I'd be down for that. I will art beef with Donald Trump. I'm gonna put that out here right now. If Donald J. Trump wants to art beef with me, we can do this until the end of time. I will trade shots with you via illustrations. I'll quit my job just to do that.
Yeah. Would be a more effective use of his time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather him take shots at me with paintings than tweet a bunch of BS in the middle of the night like he's been doing. But or throw
Uh,
paper towels at people who are in desperate need of help. Jesus Christ, man.
yeah, that's what those people need right now. They're like, well, there's a big hole in my roof. No, actually, I don't have a roof, and I'm soaking wet. Does anybody got any paper towels? And in fact, does somebody have a roll of paper towels so I can, dry off and then use them later as kindling to start a fire? And
It wasn't bad enough that he brought up their debt. Like, how do you do that? Like, can you imagine as a person, like, your house burns down and you come to me for help, and I'm like, you owe me money, right?
yeah.
You don't have anything.
Well,
You just lost everything, and I'm talking about what you owe me? Get out of here, man.
yeah, it's interesting. He brought up the stats too. He's like, so there was like hundreds of people killed in Hurricane Katrina, and that was terrible. And we did a great job, but how many people died here? 16?
Yeah, like, it wasn't enough death, so it was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Well, they got their
Money. He told them they messed up the budget. You can't do that.
yeah.
That's why I put the big D and the dumbass on there. I did it. I'm proud of that. I'll do it again.
It doesn't seem out of place. So,
No.
it's kind of like if you flip that upside down, it's almost like an ice cream cone. Like
I never saw that until now.
with the swirling hair, and maybe that'd be a new piece right there. Do a little upside down ice cream cone.
I'm gonna have to make some more time to get at this guy because honestly, part of the reason I don't have more Trump artwork is because the frequency of the ridiculousness, I can't keep up.
No, you can't.
I like by the time I construct an idea like, oh, I'm gonna paint this. He's done 6 more things that are like no one even cares about.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna care about the paper towels by the time that I draw it. He's gonna have done something else and like who knows, like pile drive to toddler on the White House steps or something. I don't know. Like that's part of the reason why I don't have more.
Yeah. It's a losing battle.
Yeah,
He's got it down.
I gotta learn to draw him faster so I can get these ideas out.
Mm-hmm. I was telling you this earlier before we went live, but I can't stand to look at him, so I didn't want to draw him either, so I just drew his mouth on on some excrement. Which there's a video of that on my channel if anybody wants to see the process.
It's rough, man. I can't say I didn't like sigh and shake my head when I was like looking for reference. Like, what am I doing?
Well, that's the thing about drawing from reference is you got to spend a lot of time looking at the subject, and one of the projects that I'm working on is for a book that's going to help manage and treat clubfoot in Bangladesh, and then
Oh,
I have to do a lot of drawings of like dissected feet and like people's tendons getting like cut and then like pulled through the hole in the top side of their foot and stuff like that.
that's
Not
rough.
not my kind of stuff to look at really, but it's for a good cause, and so I can kind of tune it out in that
It's like
regard. And
anatomically correct, like a medical journal almost. That-
they're not like Grey's Anatomy quality drawings or anything. You know, it's more like an informational thing, like you'd see in like a pamphlet.
oh, okay.
A lot of the stuff is very simplified down to like, you know, like more of like a comic book art style with just like solid lines and then
Yeah.
flat colors with maybe like a level or two of shading.
Still,
But
the idea behind that's kind of rough.
yeah. Um, well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up unless there's anything else you want to share.
No, I mean, thanks for all the questions. Thanks for having me. You know, it's been
Let's let's
fun.
let's pop back to our cameras here too real quick.
Yeah.
I think if you just cancel out of that screen share.
Oh, there we go.
There we are. We're back. So yes, as Torren said, thanks everybody for watching, and thank you, Torren, for hanging out with me and talking art.
Anytime, man.
Cool. We should do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, man. I'm always down.
All right. Well, if everybody hasn't already gone to Torren's website and followed him on Twitter and all that, make sure to do that. There should be a card, I think, in this live stream where you can click on that to get his website, and then in the video description there's some links as well. He also has a YouTube channel which you should subscribe to, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, definitely do that. That's the best way to get updates whenever we're going to be doing these live streams.
Yep. Subscribe. Definitely check out Aaron's channel. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Everything's Torren278.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of the day wherever you're at.
Peace, everyone.